everybody. It's Hank Linderman here in my secure, undisclosed location in Falls of Rough, Kentucky. You're looking at the studio right now. I've got a production camera so I can wave at you all. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it all. I'm the production team. I'm the... I'm talking. I'm coming up with the stories. I'll be talking with John Yarmuth a little bit later, Congressman John Yarmuth. I'm doing great. Mary Richardson asks how I'm doing. Barbara says she loves the music. Yes, that's one of my songs. So that's called I'm Fixing Things. And by the way, that has John McPhee from the Doobie Brothers playing fiddle and mandolin and I think dobro. Anyway, yes, Bill McNichol, of course, is asking us all to share. Here's how I get that sound to happen. I push this button over here. Pretty cool, huh? Yes, I'm your Democratic nominee for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. And that district, of course, runs from just south of Louisville. Tony York is here. Hey, Tony, make sure you share. Just south of Louisville, Bullitt County on down to Bowling Green. And we got something going on in Bowling Green tomorrow that I'm going to tell you all about. All the way over to Owensboro and then across to Danville. So it's 21 counties. It's a lot of work. Now, look, I want to get to Congressman Yarmuth as quickly as possible. He's been a great friend and a support to Democrats that are running all over the state. And he's a good guy. And all right, well, let's look at our dreadful numbers again. As usual, over the weekend, we see the numbers drop, but we also know, just as sure as shooting, that come on Tuesday or Wednesday, then the numbers are going to shoot right back up. We're basically averaging around 50,000, 55,000 new cases a day and close to 1,000 deaths every day. Like I say, on Mondays, it usually drops down, so that's not a tremendous surprise. In the States, the same thing. I think the reporting just gets behind. California has once again jumped into the lead in new cases, although it looks like they're slow on reporting deaths. So this is nothing new to us. This is what we are seeing. So I'm going to bring up a couple of things, other things that I want to talk to you about. This is Liz Warren's page, Warren Democrats. And I've got a special favor to ask you all. Yes, we always ask you to share, but now we have another thing to ask you to do. We want you to go to Warren Democrats. You just do a search for it. It's probably warrendemocrats.com, but I honestly didn't look at the address. But you'll find the Warren Democrats. And on that page, notice it says endorsements. So click on the endorsements buttons and you see this. This is a list of candidates that are endorsed by Liz Warren. And an endorsement from Liz Warren is a big help. When you click on just below, in the middle of the page, it says nominate someone. Up comes this page. And so, my friends, I would like to ask you all, please, to do me a huge favor today. Go to this website and please nominate me for an endorsement from Liz Warren. I would really, really appreciate it. Let's see if I'm still visible from the production side. The camera shuts off on its own over there. So, oh, there it goes. So I get like 5 minutes. I think that's all I get. All right, just a few more bits of business. Let's have a look at this. So this has been sent out by Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and she is calling Congress back into session. I believe they're going to go back by the end of this week to address the emergency that is going on in the post office. And this article, if you take a look at it, if you do a search for it, this is a call to all House members to show up at a post office tomorrow sometime in your district. Now, Brett Guthrie is the guy I'm running against. He is unlikely to show up in support of the post office. So I'm going to Bowling Green tomorrow, and we are flying by the seat of our pants a bit. But if you're in the Bowling Green area, we are planning to go to the post office on State Street downtown. You can see the address, State Street, Bowling Green. And show up. We're going to be doing masks. We'll be doing social distancing. And hopefully some signs show up, save the post office. I'd love to see an American flag. So any of you that are in the Bowling Green area and have time tomorrow around lunchtime, around noon, please come down to the post office on State Street. I'll be looking for you there. And I also am reaching out to everybody, honestly, in the country, but especially here in the 2nd District. If you're willing to, we would like you to show up at the post office tomorrow around noon and just let them know that you support them. You can do it with a mask. You can be socially distant. You want to be peaceful. You want a sign of some sort, or go with a friend who's got a sign, and let them know that we support the work of the post office. Because, of course, this is, and we've got a notification. Owensboro is going to do it tomorrow at 12 at the West 4th Street. That's from Karen Osborne. Thank you, Karen, for being here. So Owensboro and Karen, do me a favor. That's in the comments. All of you, if you're aware of one going on in your neighborhood, or if you want to make one happen, put some comments there. But the idea is that we citizens, we can't leave this to the Congress. They need our help. You know, one of the greatest things that was said by an official, and I'm going to have to find out who it was being kind of harangued by a group that said, you know, you need to support this proposal. And he said, basically, make me. He said, I can't do it on my own. If I do it on my own, I'm going to get killed. I'm going to lose my election. I'll be thrown out of office. I won't have a chance. Show up in the streets. Make a difference. It does make a difference. And we're going to be having to do a bunch of this sort of thing between now and November, and possibly until we get Joe Biden sworn in, knocking on wood somewhere. All right, because we really do need to get the antics of Donald Trump under control. So I told Congressman Yarmuth that I'd be calling him. Now all I got to do is find my phone. Here we go. Told him I would call him, and let's see. Barb Bennett says, yes, in Owensboro. In fact, let me see if I can hold this up, see if that's legible. It's really not. We'll put this on the comments, and I'll put it on my Facebook page. But I think this is a great thing for us to do. And this is not what Speaker Pelosi asked for. This is what we should ask for. We people need to show up and show that we support the post office. If you can't get out of your car, fine, drive by and honk the horn in support of them. Owensboro is doing it tomorrow. Bowling Green is doing it tomorrow. I'm sure they will do something like this in Boyle County. I spoke with Ian Simpson, a young man from Hardin County, and he's going to work to make that happen in Elizabethtown. All right, well, let's call Congressman Yarmuth and see if he can pick up the phone and talk with us. Better get his picture up.
Hello.
Congressman Yarmuth, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Hank. Thanks for putting this on and having me on.
Well, it's a thrill. And, you know, when someone asks me how I'm doing these days, I say, now that's a dangerous damn question.
Right. I just say the best I can.
Yes.
That's what all of us are doing. I'd say if you, I think everybody can empathize with Michelle Obama when she said she is having low-grade depression. Because I think we all are.
Yes. Now, something that helps me with my depression is to do something about whatever it is that's going on. I'm sure you saw that Speaker Pelosi has asked all of you Congress people to show up at a post office in your district sometime tomorrow and use that as a press event. Are you planning one of those?
We're actually trying to arrange a meeting with the local postmaster. And I suspect by the end of the day we'll have that arranged, and I will go there. But we're going to do something tomorrow, absolutely.
Well, we in the 2nd District, of course, don't have a congressman who's likely to show up in support of the post office. So I just got on the phone this morning and started calling people. Why don't we just show up at the post office wherever it is at noon tomorrow? So we're kind of calling for people. We can't rely on Congress to do all the heavy lifting. You need the support of people to show that you've got people behind you.
I think that's absolutely right. One of the things that we've been emphasizing, the limited events that we can participate in, is that how much the problems we have today, the Republicans like to say government can't fix anything, but the problems we have today do require everybody to be involved. Citizens, the business community, nonprofits, government, everybody.
And, government really can't do anything if you make it small enough and, do everything you can to tie it into knots, I suppose.
Well, exactly. And that's been one of the frustrating things. It was certainly frustrating being in the minority for the 8 years that we were, from 2010 to 2018, when you saw people in control of the government who had no interest in governing. And the amusing thing, it was tragic in a way, but the amusing thing was to watch over that time people being so critical of Obamacare and the repeal and replace movement. And of course, there was never any proposal from the Republicans on how to replace Obamacare, because in fact, the only way to replace it is with single payer or Medicare for all. And they weren't willing to do that. And they could never come up with any other way to deal with our healthcare issues. And Obamacare has proven to be pretty damn good, although not as good as a universal system would be.
That is actually surprising to me because by appearances, John, you are a very moderate human being. Would you say?
I think I am a moderate in terms of my demeanor.
Right.
I appear, yeah. At one point when they're not doing this, I don't think anymore, but the Congressional Quarterly would rank all the members as to how liberal or conservative they were. And one year, I was ranked more liberal than Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi.
Wow.
That really stunned me. So when Amy McGrath 2 years ago in Massachusetts said she was the most liberal person in Kentucky, I said, I took personal offense at that.
Pardon me, ma'am. Well, and that brings up your support for Medicare for All, which I actually was a little surprised by, but I saw that you're one of the 120 Democratic Congress people that have signed the bill to move forward to Medicare for All.
Right, and I've been a co-sponsor of all the iterations of H.R. 676, which originally was John Conyers' bill, John Conyers from Michigan, for single-payer health care, which morphed into Medicare for All. And it was one of the things I ran on my first election in 2006, that the healthcare system's broken, that the only efficient healthcare delivered in the country was delivered by the government through Medicare.
Right.
And I shouldn't say efficient, I would say cost effective. And so, the answer is, the Republicans like to say, well, the answer is more competition. Well, we had a system like that. That's what we had.
We certainly do.
That's what we had when 800,000 people were going bankrupt every year, and there were 20,000 unnecessary deaths, and we had 40 million people uninsured. That was the competitive system. The problem with a competitive system in healthcare is there's no balance of supply and demand.
And also, I don't know about you, but I'm not really in the mood to comparison shop if my child has broken their arm.
Exactly.
I don't want to call a hospital and say, now, what will you charge to set the arm? What does anesthesia cost? What if he has to spend the night? What is that? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to take my child to the nearest hospital and get it dealt with.
Exactly. That's what I say. When you need healthcare, you need it. And so all the bargaining power is with the people who have it, who are providing it. Right. And you have none.
Right. Let's talk briefly about, one of the things we run into, and it's not so much a problem for a city like Louisville, for example. There's plenty of broadband coverage, or generally, I'm sure there are areas of Louisville that are underserved with broadband infrastructure. But boy, you get out into the state, and there's large areas where broadband is simply not available. And I think the figure I saw was 30% of the country does not have robust broadband, which in the time of COVID, we're trying to educate kids and having them stay at home. It's shown that we simply can't do it without broadband. So the need for broadband is undeniable, but it's been difficult to get it out into rural America, rural Kentucky, of course, is what I'm particularly concerned with. Governor Beshear,
Yes.
Steve Beshear, attempted to do that within the state, but it was so difficult getting past property owners. Do you have any thoughts about rural broadband?
Well, clearly we need a national policy, and I think that's priority number one. Not just a policy that would take care of those kinds of issues, the logistical issues of getting it done, but also the economic ones, and also the provisions that would protect the consumer from being extorted. Because
Yes.
clearly, if you live if you're one house at the end of a half a mile driveway out in the country or in a holler, it's going to cost a lot to get you wired up.
That's exactly
you're
what
that.
goes on. That's exactly. I'm in Falls of Rough, Kentucky, and I'm on a chip and seal road. One of my neighbors could afford to have the broadband installed, but they wanted $2,000 just to run a wire down to her.
Yeah, and that's what we'd have to make sure of as part of a national policy, that there are federal subsidies to make sure that just because of your residential circumstances, you're not priced out of the market, essentially.
Right. And, we've gotten to the point where broadband is really like electricity or water. It's become a requirement for modern life. And, the nation of India, I recall a statistic that not very long ago, maybe 12, 15 years ago, they were close to the bottom in terms of installed infrastructure for broadband. And they took a 10-year program and went for it. They're now number one in terms of installed broadband. And they viewed it as an investment in their people. And I'm pretty sure it paid off pretty well based on the number of Indian people
exactly.
that are in tech.
Exactly. I mean, the importance of broadband, both from an economic perspective, because a lot of people are building businesses based on the internet now, that allows you to participate in the international economy, even as an individual in a remote area. The educational necessity, as you mentioned, and then also the medical necessity now, because so much healthcare is now being delivered by telemedicine, and that's only going to increase. And it just in virtually every aspect of your life, it's an absolute essential. I remember several years ago visiting Frost Elementary, which is in the very southwestern part of Jefferson County, and I asked most of the kids there came from Shively and West Louisville, and I asked the principal, how many of the kids in your school have access to broadband and a computer at home? And she said 10%. And I said, well, those kids that 90% has no chance.
Oh, no chance at all.
Yeah, no chance at all in life.
No chance at all.
And that's a tragedy.
Yes. And by the way, this also ties into wireless coverage. Louisville gets pretty good coverage from your cell phone company, but driving across the state can be torture. And you can't, that would be just to the benefit of business, to all of us, if we had reliable wireless. And it's not impossible. Other states are able to do it. So
absolutely.
I want to kind of use this to segue, because I brought up the idea that came from Rich Campbell, who works for our campaign. He's also the bassist for the group America. And he looked into it quite a bit and thinks that one way to modernize the post office would be to give them some of the job of installing or managing, creating rural broadband. And I'm curious what you think about that, but also it ties into medical, because our post office is under attack. And think about people who need medical by the post office. So I'm going to turn you loose on the post office here.
Well, first of all, that's a fascinating idea that I'd like to learn more about. But I spent 2 terms of Congress on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which is the committee that has jurisdiction over the Postal Service. And one of the things that is getting lost in this entire discussion of whether the post office is efficient or not, whether it should make money or not, as the president says, or lose less money, is that Congress has set the rules for the way the post office operates. And so, the post office can't necessarily determine its own rates.
Right.
It can't go into ancillary businesses unless Congress gives them the right to do it. Now, the issue with their pension program is one, or pension payments is one that a lot of people have heard about. They've been required to prepay their pension contributions, which no other agency of government has ever been asked to do. That was done by Republicans on their way out the door in 2006 when they were losing control of Congress. And I would hope that if we take the entire government back next year, that's something we re-examine. Take that pressure off the Postal Service, and that would make their operation a lot more efficient. But in so many ways, the post office is so critical. I mean, even though I only represent Louisville, years ago I was a staffer for a United States senator, and boy, if you don't think that you get a good sense of how much the post office in these small towns means to those people, not just for the Postal Service themselves, but as a focal point of community pride, of community socialization. The post office is just absolutely critical to this country, always has been. And I'm glad we're seeing right now all of these people coming forward and saying, it took me 10 days to get a package that was sent from 3 miles away. I waited 10 days or 15 days for my insulin or some other medicine. This is the human impact that is at stake right now.
You mentioned how important it is to rural communities, to all communities. Almost anywhere in the United States, you can drive into a little town, you'll get off the interstate and drive for 10 miles, and you'll come up upon a little town, and sure enough, there's a post office in a little teeny tiny town. It's almost unpatriotic for us to talk about getting rid of the post office.
Absolutely.
The post office has been with us while we had a post office while we were a colony. While we were England's colony, we had a post office. In a way, the post office is older than our nation. And I just can't quite understand this intensity. Now, there's some shenanigans going on. For example, the new post office inspector general, I guess, is the term. DeJoy, is that his name?
He's the Postmaster General.
Yeah, the Postmaster General. Okay, and he has now outlawed overtime. And he says, if your shift is about to end and you've got a truckload full of mail, you better get back home. Don't worry about mail in the mail, because we want no overtime. And I would imagine if you're an employee, you're now in violation of some sort of policy if you just decide to deliver the mail. This seems oddly timed, don't you think?
Very suspicious. Yes, it is. Just as removing post boxes or mailboxes from places like Oregon and Connecticut and Wisconsin, places that just happen to be maybe swing states in the presidential election. Well,
Right.
Portland, Oregon's not going to be a swing state. But it's interesting they picked Oregon, and that bunch of post offices in Eugene and a number in Portland. And because Oregon is the first state that had mandatory mail-in elections.
Oh, that's interesting.
So everyone votes by mail in Oregon.
Wow.
And yeah.
Now, one comment I've heard is that as difficult as dealing with the ballots will be, the comment was, it's no Christmas. And around Christmas time, that's when the post office is really put to the test. So this battle against the post office is a battle against Christmas.
And Valentine's Day, don't forget that.
And Valentine's Day, and
It's
so on
a
and
battle
so on.
against, yes, it's a battle against love.
Yes, it's a battle against love. Well, John, thank you for everything you're doing. Please let us know where you're going to be tomorrow. But obviously, it sounds like you're going to be out there doing what needs to be done relating to the post office in Jefferson County. And we here in the 2nd District are going to show up. There may only be handfuls of us here and there in some of the small counties, but we support the idea of having a post office and keeping it strong and keeping it part of our election. It's going to be a critical piece of this upcoming election.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Well, John, thank you for
And I
all
look
you
forward
do.
to going. Okay, Hank, and I look forward to going back to Washington this weekend and voting for some support for the Postal Service, that then we'll put the Republicans on the spot and see what they do.
Yes, and thank you so much for being part of this, and I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely. Ask anytime.
All right. John, you have a great day.
All right.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks.
Take care. Well, that was wonderful. That was Congressman John Yarmuth. I'm sorry I couldn't get to your all's questions, and I know that you had some, but maybe John will come back and answer them. Maybe he'll look at the comments. We have a couple of people. I can't show you a picture coming this week. Yes, thank you, Congressman Yarmuth. John is a very, very nice man, and he's helped my campaign, and he showed up to the very first meeting in Louisville when I was meeting with activists from all over the 2nd District. We happened to meet in Louisville. It was the easiest place to meet. And Congressman Yarmuth was there, and so I really appreciate and he's always there. When you ask for help, he shows up, and that's what you should be. And if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, of course, I'll be leaning on Congressman Yarmuth's guidance to get me through my first year. So on Wednesday, tomorrow, by the way, is going to be a funny day. There's a couple announcements I've got to make. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in Bowling Green, and at around noon, we're going to the State Street Post Office, and we're just going to gather and kind of publicly support the post office. There's a similar one going on in Owensboro, and please look through the comments, and you'll see it. Actually, I've got a text from Barb Bennett, and she says, this is in Owensboro from noon till 1, Tuesday, August 18th. Owensboro's 4th Street Post Office. Bring a sign, wear your mask, ask Congress to support our post office. So all of you, wherever you are, show up at your post office tomorrow and just give them the thumbs up. Thank those people for working. Let our government, let everyone know that we need our post office. Now, on Wednesday, we have a guest scheduled who you haven't met, and I can't find a picture of him. His name is Mark Dowell, and Mark is the political director for the United Auto Workers in the state of Kentucky. And UAW has supported me financially and with endorsements, and I carry around, let me see if I can dig this out. I carry around a piece that was bestowed on me. I think it was Mark gave it to me. So I carry around my UAW piece. This thing weighs something, and I usually have it with me if I'm wearing long pants. I don't carry it in my exercise shorts. And on Thursday, of course, Dr. Greg Adams, good Dr. Adams, ask Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg will be back, and I think we should talk to him about Medicare for All. And oh, look at this. We've got a MoveOn.org Save the Post Office rally on August 22nd that's on, if you're an Indivisible, you can find that. Okay, look, I think it's time for me to wind this up. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, we got another big change coming by the end of the week. We believe that we can expand our audience if we start hosting instead of on my personal page, that we will host from the campaign page. So I'll be talking about this all week, and we will try it on Friday. And one of the things we will be trying to do is doing a watch party on my personal page, so that all of those of you that find it through my personal page should still be able to find it. But otherwise, you should go to hank4ky.com. Actually, no, the Facebook page, the campaign Facebook, which is Hank4KY on Facebook. Sorry to confuse you all so much. I'm so honored to have you all listening to me and being part of this every day. I didn't have time to say hello to everybody. Thank you all. Oh, I do want to show you a picture because, so many of you have been contributing, and it has been a wonderful thing. I want to show you a picture of what I took to the post office today. There we go. So that is a bag full of thank you notes that went out today for everybody that's contributing. We definitely need your help. If you're able to contribute, we really appreciate it. It makes a huge, huge difference. And thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. And we will see you tomorrow. Remember, if you're getting angry, don't use it to act like a damn fool. Use it to focus yourself and work on your determination, because we're going to have this is going to be one of the hardest things we have ever done in our lives, because this guy is not going to leave easily. We are going to have to work. We can't take anything for granted. So Let's get out there and fix some things, okay? Thank you all for being here.